thank you everybody again for being generous with your time. This is probably the 40th webinar that we have run, and I'm always delighted when people join it and feel like they are getting benefit from what we at Pro Funcom are talking about, which is essentially digital marketing, marketing automation, and how you go about raising money, attracting funds with those processes, those workflows, and those technology. So thank you all once again for being generous with your time and indulging me for the next 30 minutes. So obviously we're at the end of the year, and there is always this question when we're talking to clients, when we're talking to prospects, is this concept of building a business case. And when I was doing digital marketing, for a hedge fund, again, we were always the second cousin, the poorer cousins of the sales team, of the portfolio managers. And, the real challenge there was, okay, how do we as marketers get the share of the voice? And more importantly, how do we get share of budget? That was the thing I found really difficult to put into words, put into spreadsheets, even creating a decent business case. And I suppose I know what I wish then is what I know now. And hopefully that's what I'm going to share with you in this webinar. Now, you may call it how to make a business case for investing in fund digital marketing. But in reality, what it is, and what I should have named this, is how to get a pay rise and get more budget at the same time. Because ultimately, no matter how you dress it, getting more budget and getting a pay rise as a marketer can only happen if you're demonstrating how the marketing is affecting the inflows in the business, and how is it actually contributing to raising assets and preserving assets. If you can't do that, there's no pay rise and there's no budget, and the only budget will be incremental. So this is what hopefully we can talk about today. And if you've got any questions about this, let me know, because ultimately, it's all good to talk about business cases, but how this really ties into getting a pay rise, how this ties in to getting more budget, how you can convince people who are not marketeers, how do you convince them? So this is what we're going to hopefully go through today. So a little bit about Pro Funcom. Our goal is helping asset managers, hedge funds, wealth managers, private banks identify new investment or redemption risks based around marketing automation and digital marketing. And we work in conjunction with CRMs. So if you've got a CRM system and you're doing some basic marketing through it, what we do at Pro Funcom, we provide the marketing automation capabilities to take all your digital marketing and find a way to attribute all that marketing activity to money coming into the business. So with that being said, ultimately, how do you define marketing, right? And it's a little bit, some of the people on this call, we had over 200 register. Looking at people's titles, everyone's in marketing. And it's really interesting that nobody really has a clear definition of what marketing is, right? And that's what I thought we could quickly go through before I kind of get into the 5 points. So if you kind of ask Google, as we tend to do, so when I got my COVID symptoms, that's the first place I went, there is a definition of marketing. And there are something like 9, is that billion or is that trillion? Let's go with trillion. There are 10 trillion pages on the keyword define marketing. And I kind of thought, okay, based on the current last 30 years, who has been the greatest marketer that we know? And I think you'd find it difficult to get past Steve Jobs. And he broke it down in a very, very famous, I think it was an offsite at Apple or Next. I think it was Next Computing, where he basically said marketing is about values. And if you kind of YouTube this, and in the replay, I will actually add the link to this. He really talks about how the marketing is, the arena we're selling funds into is competitive and noisy. And the only way you can rise above that is by understanding your values. And it's a fascinating discourse with his team about how he values marketing and ultimately how he has generated subjective value in Apple products. And I'm currently reading the book about the guy who designed the iPhone, and it really is interesting, is how values affect how significantly how you do your marketing. So whilst that's kind of Steve Jobs' definition of marketing, question is, how does that affect fund marketers on this call? And how do you build a go-to-market strategy? Because ultimately, marketing is going to the market. And that market could be the farmer's market, it could be Salesforce's app exchange, it could be you on a fund platform, it could be you at Fund Forum or Game or Salt or something, some of those events. So how do you go to market? So how do you actually market these values? And these values effectively manifest themselves in three ways. The first is working out for your go-to-market strategy, your fund narrative. So what are your values? How does that tie into your fund and your product? So once you've kind of, distill that down, is to then work out, who are your ideal investors? Are they high net worth? Are they institutional? Are they retail? Are they wholesale? Are they platforms? Are they pension funds? Are they insurance companies? Who are they? And once you've done that, that will tie into the narrative, because ultimately you'll be speaking their language. And they will then identify your values from that. And once you've got those three tied in, you can then say, right, who are the top 100 investors that we can test our narrative against? And that's how you keep building. You test the narrative, feedback, test the narrative, feedback. And the only way you can actually do that in a coherent way is by iterating through data that you pull back in. Now, that data could be digital marketing data, which products like we do. It could be a gut feel. It could be any one of those. But the key is to keep iterating through that and keep iterating through that 100. And what that effectively allows you to do, and what that looks like, that iterative process, is created by your narrative, your brand awareness, your demand generation, how people are engaging with that content, how the analytics are being driven, and how the investment comes out of that. And that ultimately is how, when you're presenting your marketing plan, your marketing case, the ideas that you want to run, this is the best way to present it to C-level people within financial companies. And there's a reason for that. The reason you've got to kind of present this kind of information in these blocks connected together in some kind of engineering format, in a way that's broken out into discrete steps, is because it's the brain of the budget holder. Now, people who are holding budgets, people who are portfolio managers, people who are at the C-level within hedge funds are generally mathematical, engineering, accounting type brains, which means they're logical, they focused on facts, and don't want a story, which unfortunately, those of us who are in marketing, well, we are emotional and we just like to babble about a story. And it's those two worlds that do not connect. And I know this because when I was at university, I was studying engineering and maths, and my flatmate was a furniture design person. And our worlds were so different. And how we looked at the same problem were completely different. And I hated him, and he still hates me for all the things, all the arguments we had 30 years ago. And I'm using hate as a strong word. I'm godfather to his children, and he's godfather to mine. But we just never got each other. And this is the pride. It's fine when you're friends and you're drinking beer and you're running around, you know, going on trips to the mountains and stuff like that. Okay, you know, there's a bit of hijinks going on. But when this kind of affects your budget and how much, you know, you want to get a pay rise for, and obviously, you know, in corporate speak, building the business case, is kind of working. How can you transfer the Pablo Picasso that's in your mind into E equal to MC square for the scientist? Okay. And now I'm going to take you through those 5 steps. So thank you for bearing with me so far. So if you don't get through steps 2, 3, 4, and 5, just stay for step 1, because this was a complete eye-opener for me. So what this is the magic number. And most of you of a particular generation will know that it's always 3. That's the magic number. But anyhow, CAC versus LTV. These are probably the 2 most important numbers that a marketer should know. CAC, cost of acquisition per investor. What does it take as a marketing budget and a sales budget to generate an investor? Okay, most important, CAC. The next part to this is what is the lifetime value of each investor. Again, very interesting number. So if you're doing it, you know, 220 or 110 or 0.5 and 5, whatever your split is of management and performance, that's a very significant number, and that really feeds into your LTV. And most people would say a good CAC to LTV ratio is 1:8. And the best way to explain this is to say, okay, how much should we spend on a lead? And when I say how much you're going to spend on a lead, let's say you're running an event and you know you've got an event and you know you're going to get 10 leads from that. Okay, now, but the event costs a lot of money. Now, if the lifetime value of an investor is 100,000 and the cost of acquiring is 10, then that's a ratio that somebody with a mathematical brain would understand. It would say, oh yeah, that's a good deal. So if there's an event that's costing $10,000 or £10,000, which is pretty much the same now, thank you, Liz, is to say, right, and we're going to generate 10 leads from that. That's only 1,000. Wow, we are well within our, you know, LTV CAC ratio. Go ahead and do it. So it's almost like you could actually say, and from these numbers, an event costs us 100,000 to do, and we're going to get 10 leads. It actually ties into our CAC value anyway. Our LTV is 100K per investor. Again, no brainer. So once you do this, once you actually flip the language around into it's actually within the limits of our CAC to LTV ratio, as opposed to, oh my God, we've got an event coming up, we've got games, salt, you know, it's going to cost us 100,000 to do. There's actually an argument to say it's actually that, and even at 100,000, it's cheap, depending on your lifetime value of your investor. So this is this was eye-opening for me. And it really helped me to kind of talk the language of the people that I need to convince. And, you know, if what do they say? If you can't convince them with fact, I forget, you can do the rest. You can Google that one. But fact definitely works on that. It really fits the brain. And what it also fits the brain is this next slide, is to work out your cost of acquisition. You actually need to work out quarter by quarter how many leads are coming in, how many investment documents you're sending out, how many of those are you leading to a form of due diligence, and how many of that is actually leading to investment. And then you need to kind of build this out quarter by quarter by quarter. And that is why digital analytical tools like ours and marketing automation tools like ours are so important, because you can actually track all these ones digitally. So this feeds into this spreadsheet, and then from this spreadsheet, you can actually work out where you should be spending your money and what is cheap and what is not cheap. And, you know, the biggest reason marketing fails is because the people making the decision just see the number. They don't see the added benefit. But the problem at where all marketers fail is they have no language to convey the benefit. So what this does take, which marketers are bad at, is discipline. So you've got to find out internally the best way to be collating these numbers. And a lot of these numbers will be coming in via various channels. So again, tools like ours and other products are available, will allow you to aggregate this all in one place, all in real time. So if anybody wants as well, I'll send this spreadsheet out too. And if you want to spend some time with me on the call, I can actually show you how you fill this out. And this is, again, very, very useful to see, is your marketing spend actually working, and how is your marketing spend actually converting to investments? Okay, that's it. That's the most important part. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is this lovely word ROI, or MROI, marketing return on investment. And what this is the ability to demonstrate when you're putting together a business case, negotiating salary, negotiating more budget, whatever you choose to call it, gives you the ability to, in numbers, demonstrate month on month how many new prospects have been generated, how many of those have been activated, how many have been reached out to, and from your marketing, how many new opportunities have you created? And more importantly, the ability to drill down into this information and say, okay, we've spent all this money, it's generated this many new opportunities, and guess what? Here they are. And that is, again, a technology play where you're able to use digital marketing, marketing automation in conjunction with marketing automation, and then pull that information together. So the minute, you know, you've got a mathematical brain typed person, I must think of a better name for them, but you know the ones, they can look at these numbers and they're not looking at brand and colors and pictures, which are wasted on them. They're actually looking at numbers that move the needle on their business, on the fund. So having this to hand is a great trump card to play. Now, the other thing on marketing ROI is just looking at trends. And these trends very, very quickly visualize the ability to see, you know, is your distribution list growing? Is your content convincing? Are people getting tired of what you're sending them? What kind of content is working? And what's the quality of your data? And again, this feeds back all in to the numbers that you want to present to people, whether it's new prospects, whether it's active prospects. These numbers show to the, again, I've got to find a better word. Somebody can find one while we're having this webinar, please chuck it in the comments or the Q&A or a chat. Those guys, it really helps translate all the good marketing activity into something that's understandable and digestible by budget holders. Okay, so once that's done, the next people you need is, how do you get the salespeople on board? Okay, because you need to have another ally pushing the marketing cause. And the way you do that is by helping the sales team. And what you should be able to do is have the ability in your digital marketing automation platform, is the ability to go into a contact and actually see how somebody is engaging with content. So are they opening fact sheets? Are they opening emails? Are they engaging on the website? Having all this data in one place is exceptionally useful. And also having a media player that plays is also useful, and it's not playing. So I apologize for that. But what you'd see is that a salesperson taking all this marketing data and at the contact level, being able to see what somebody has been accessing. Okay. And it's working. There we go. So you can actually see a contact can go in, they can see a salesperson can go in, they can see what somebody's seen, how active they've been over time, and that all feeds into where are they accessing content from. That all feeds into making the salesperson's life that much easier. So again, any integration that you do that pulls in data that's helping the sales team from various digital channels also builds your case. Now, the next thing is what really helps the C-suite understand about business cases and ongoing KPIs, key performance indicators, ongoing OKRs, which is, my friend Scott Levy would tell me what it is. Anyhow, whatever they are, ultimately, it's all a little baloney, because I do love this meme that I actually have on our Instagram. You know, if my dashboard was so great, why do people ask me to put it in Excel? But unfortunately, that is the world we live in. So having a dashboard that looks pretty is a good start, but also having a dashboard like this one here, which is actually from our product using Power BI and actually works in real time. So you can actually click different tabs and actually see how your funds are performing. You can actually see geographically how the funds are performing as well. You can track the marketing activity to inflows. All that activity, all that data is all in one place, and you can drill down on it. And yes, you too can put it in Excel. So that is, you know, how we see business intelligence and how, again, that feeds into the C-suite. So if a C-suite is looking at a dashboard and is continually being updated and is giving them a single view of all marketing, then again, that really helps to build the case in a language that the C-suite understand. I mean, McKinsey spend all their money, all these consultants, Bain Group, all these guys, just putting dashboards together, but ultimately everybody downloads into Excel. And finally, another way to really demonstrate how a marketing team is aiding the AUM process is by having tools that allow a salesperson to go straight in and see the people they should be talking to. And this is just an example in our product of surfacing data. And this surfaces for a sales team, for relationship managers, surfaces who are the people they should be calling based on certain behavioral profiles. And that could be, you know, people that they haven't spoken to for a while, that are actively engaged. This, you know, looks at investors who could potentially invest in other products, people that they haven't spoken to ever, that are suddenly reading what they're sending them, and also picks out investors who are actively disengaged from the fund, so potentially need a call because they're looking to redeem. So that's incredibly useful information for the sales team and really fits into the reason why a fund exists. Now, which is to raise assets. Now, the trouble is, you know, I say the trouble, it is trouble because, and a problem, because most funds and budget holders don't understand that they are a marketing company that sells funds. And that's incredibly hard to get across. I mean, it's that famous quote from Phil Knight, who ran Nike, who said, somebody asked him, what's it like building, you know, the most amazing shoe company in the world, the most famous athletic brand in the world? And he said, no, that's not what we are. We're a marketing company that sells athletic products. And once like LTV and CAC, you understand, somebody in the organization understands you're a marketing machine, then you'll get budget. But you know, in 25 years of doing this, I have only seen one fund that understands how to do that, and one person in that fund. And they've moved from, you know, job to job and have used ProFundCom on every step of that journey. And interestingly enough, they were our first client. So they took a risk on us 20 years ago. So more power to them, early adopters. Okay, so that is what it looks like. Those are the 5 steps to go through. Now, if you found that useful, more than welcome to ask me questions at the end of this. I have a book out on Amazon. It's called, as well as being the founder of ProFundCom and, you know, doing digital marketing and marketing automation every day. We have a book. I have a book out. A second edition is coming soon, called Marketing to the Invisible Investor. And the reason it's invisible, it's because you just don't know if they're online, if they're on your website, if they're on social, investor portal, you don't know who they are. So how you actually find out who they are is just why I wrote this book during lockdown. And like I said, second edition is coming out. If you ask me nicely and you're on this webinar, you can get a copy. So that's one part. The other thing I've done as well to help people along, if you go to our website, I've actually created a free digital marketing training course where you just basically can learn all the basics, pretty much all the stuff I spoke about today, summarized into 3 to 5 minute videos around specific topics, and that's available from our website as well. I hope you found this useful. I hope, you know, it helps getting a pay rise, getting budget, and helps you, if you have to put a business case together, make sure you have politically everything aligned the way it needs to be aligned. So it's not just your voice, it's the voice of other parts of the business. So thank you all very much. That was half an hour on the dot. Now somebody give that man a cigar. So that's it, we're done. I'm hoping you all have a lovely weekend. I know some people on this have already started, some haven't. Some of their days have just started. Any questions? I'm here for the next 5-10 minutes. More than happy to talk. Or just say well done, come on. I've had COVID for 10 days. Somebody's got to say well done. Oh. No questions. Ah, we've got a question. Here we go. No, my pleasure, Tony. Thank you for that. He said thank you. Okay, oh, we've got another question that's come through. All right, now you're just patronizing me. Oh, actually, I've got a question. The question has come through. Tracking of LTV and CAC. So the question is, what do you consider in cost of acquisition of a charge? Cost of acquisition is everything that includes sales and marketing. It does not include regulatory components such as compliance. It doesn't include back office, accounting, or anything like that. So it's purely the go-to-market activities that sit around that. Okay, so thanks for that question. Any more questions? People are just saying thank you. Okay, did I over-egg that? I've got one more question. Here we go. Before presenting a budget, determining demand or strategy before presenting a budget, determining demand or strategy should be first. That's the biggest challenge, right? Before presenting a budget, demand strategy should be first. Well, strategy, and there's strategic thinking and there's tactical thinking. And obviously, when you take a strategy, there are two ways you have strategy, right? And this is interestingly how the iPhone came about, because before the iPhone, there was nothing, right? It's, do you have a gut instinct of what's going to work? And that's just an opinion because there's no data. And how do you quickly get to data, right? And so basically, you've got to kind of build out the various strategies that you have in mind. Now, it could be an SEO strategy, it could be a direct messaging strategy, it could be a LinkedIn strategy. And once you've built out those strategies, and this fits into how marketing ROI works, is to kind of then work out, okay, what outcomes do you get? Now, you could have desired outcomes, but you could just say, what outcomes do we get? And the beauty with using digital marketing is that you can run these A/B tests. So you don't have to go to steering committees or user groups or anything like that. You can pretty much build these strategies out in real time. And also, the good news is with things like LinkedIn, with peer groups, you can also talk to them and say, right, what strategies have worked well for you, what strategies haven't worked well for you. The other thing you can do is you can talk to, we have user groups where our users talk to each other about what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. So strategy is one of those things where it's a crutch, because when you spend time on strategy, the strategy goes wrong, and you then basically say, well, we spent lots of time on it, so it's not really our fault. And golf's like this too. The reason people spend time on putts so long, because they're just justifying, if they miss it, well, at least they thought about it. And that's the danger with strategic thinking. Now, tactical thinking, again, is really dangerous too, but there is a middle ground. And that middle ground, I don't know the name of it, but what that means is you basically do what I just said. You basically see what you have currently in your marketing silos, in your marketing arsenal. You then say, right, for what we have right now, what can we tactically do very quickly to do this A/B testing that then feeds into how the assumptions we're making in our strategy. So that is the big challenge. It is a big challenge, but it's only a challenge because strategy is all about taking time on something and having no accountability and no data. So I don't believe in strategy to define everything. What you need is people at the coalface with this information to hand, because somebody somewhere has this information, and feeding it back and doing A/B testing. Okay, so I hope that helped, Joyce. If you want to book some time with me, I can take you through this in more detail. I can give you all our customer experiences that we've had, 250 plus, and no charge. How about that? Damien, thanks, Paul. Learned something new today. What was it? What was it, Damien? I want to know. Right. Sorry, Paul, I meant the actual investment offering. My challenge has been a low demand product and a large investment in marketing may not have the results in terms of CAC versus LTV. The actual investment offering, got it. I think the answer to that is education, 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 and being able to educate people to build out the the knowledge and being first of mind, front of mind, and that subjective value in what you're doing, and that is marketing. Okay, now what you're talking about there, where it's a low demand product and a large investment in marketing, that is the journey that pretty much every client I've spoken to goes through. So by all means, Joyce, we've got a few more questions coming in. I'm more than happy if you just email me. We can spend a bit more time on this, but it is all about your narrative. It's all about how you describe your attitude to risk, your investment strategies, and your performance, and filling that and kind of making that part of your narrative, and how you go to market with that, how you distribute that on digital channels. And it's not a shortcut. And that's the thing I probably should have said. It's a long tail sales cycle. Okay. CAC and L. I'll tell you what, Damien, CAC and LTV. That is how you explain, how marketing works with these guys. So I'm really happy you helped that. There we go, Tony, CAC and LTV. Happy days. Great. Well, listen, I'm glad I've been useful today. And thank you all very much for joining. Joyce, more than happy to have a chat with you. Anybody else, feel free to email me with any questions you may have. Next webinar is about what we're looking for, what we think is going to happen in 2023 on the digital marketing front. God knows where we're going to be. Otherwise, we have a report coming out, which you'll all be receiving. And in the new year, we've taken the top 100 hedge funds and we've done some analysis and how they do their marketing, who does it well, who does it badly. And we're gonna, in New York and London, ProFuncom World, see you there. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.